Hey everybody, it's COGconnected, and we're back for episode 3 of our Game of the Year awards. It's episode 3, and we're back, but we never really left because we're doing all this at the same time. I think Trevor's wearing a new hat. He's trying to fool everybody.
And a new shirt.
Oh, you changed shirt. Oh, it's Uncle Death. Our first award for episode 3 is the hotness, which is our sexiest digital hero. And I bet you everybody watching...
My nipples are down here, by the way, people. I don't know why I was from...
why are you scratching your liver and our kidneys?
I don't know. I was
oh my God, my kidneys.
You guys were all... And I was like, yeah. And then I noticed my hands were getting lower, and then they hung uncomfortably around my ribcage. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing right now.
So I'm sure everybody watching is immediately going to assume that it's 4 dudes sitting around a table talking about the hotness. Like, immediately we're going into the most...
Boobs, he means.
Boobs. We're going into boobs. Boob territory. But you're wrong. We have all sorts of nominees. And some may surprise people. They surprised me because I don't know about this list. Really. All right, let's get into our nominees. And
For the record, our staff does comprise of men and women.
And women who would have...
So women voted too.
That's right. So I don't know if it's fair representation here. But let's get into the awards anyway. Nominees are Noctis, Final Fantasy 15. JD Phoenix, Gears of War 4. Cindy. Nate Drake himself, Uncharted 4. Delilah, Firewatch. Tracer, Overwatch. Cavalry's coming. Widowmaker, Overwatch. Emily Caldwin, Dishonored 2. I'm sensing an Overwatch theme. Emily Caldwin, Dishonored 2. Ryu, Street Fighter 5. Gladiolus, Amicitia. Did I pronounce that well?
Good enough for me.
Good enough?
It sounded fantastic.
Final Fantasy 15. Uncle Death, Let It Die. And Elena from Uncharted. And I have a feeling Rory's going to start this off well. So let's give Rory the nod for his choice.
Well, there's so much pressure.
The sexiest digital hero.
Who do I seductively look to here? Which I'll
You
do
can
down
seduce
the middle.
both cameras.
You know what? There's some good choices there. I actually thought I was going to end up picking Nathan Drake. I have him circled right now. But you know what? I am going to change my choice and not go with Nathan Drake above all the sexy women as well. And I am going to vote for Gladiolus from Final Fantasy 15. And like we just found out by looking up his name, it matches with the flower, and the flower is
rather dainty.
It's very dainty, which I think is appropriate because it's a nice reflection of his soul underneath that gruff and tough exterior that is Gladiolus. I think he's tall, he's masculine, he's sensitive, and he can stand up for himself in a fight and protect his best friends. And he is my choice for sexiest digitalist hero.
That is sexy.
Digitalist.
He's the digitalist hero.
So I don't know if you guys might be able to tell if you've been watching from episode 1 through to now. We're all a few more beers deep than we were when we started. That's why Rory can't talk.
I just can't talk generally speaking, but I got very excited when Gladiolus was brought up.
All right, Paul, who's your sexiest digital hero?
Well, I thought I knew who I was going to pick.
Oh, is this a last-minute flip-flop?
I might be flip-flopping.
Oh, shit!
Originally, I had picked Delilah from Firewatch. And this is an interesting pick because you never actually see Delilah.
You never see her.
And I think that's important to note because sexiness does not always equate to outward beauty.
He is going for
it's like all the phone sex ladies.
There you go.
We know.
You never see her, but she's so mysterious. And Henry is drawn to her within the game. And I think she's a very sexy individual.
Have you ever...
that wasn't your pick?
But a quick segue, though. Which Aerosmith video is it? I might be dating myself, but there's an Aerosmith video, I can't remember which song it was, where a guy is actually talking to a woman at a phone sex line, and she's got like the super sexiest voice you've ever heard, and then when it pans to the end of the video, it's a woman with like curlers in her hair, and a smoke in her mouth, and a baby on one side, ironing, and she's like, "Hey baby, call back later."
That's
like,
hot.
No!
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
It's true. It's true. All right, so tell us your actual choice.
My actual pick, I'm going to go with Uncle Death.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, Uncle Death, he may not be the most physically attractive individual either.
He's a skeleton.
He is, in fact, a skeleton. But I think he's got a lot of charisma. And he's that bad boy that the ladies and gentlemen go for.
Charisma is sexy.
And there you go,
Totally,
Uncle
right?
Death. He's a skateboarding badass,
He
and you
oozes
can't turn
charisma?
him down.
Like Razor Ramon?
That's what I say. Charisma and charm.
Nice one.
Oozes machismo.
Physical appearances. Right?
There you go.
Oh, I feel like such a dirty douche right now. I do, because
I'm here the pick.
You're going boobs, aren't you?
I'm looking at
You're
this and
going
I'm
boobs.
like, no, I take it. I'll admit that, like, I take this as a bit of a joke category because
course.
you know,
Right.
you know, in this day of trying to be PC all the time, people are always so worried about offending or saying something that they shouldn't. And I'm just gonna come right out and say it that Cindy's got great boobs.
Cindy is hot.
She is. She's super hot. She's a completely useless character. She's vapid. I don't think Cindy would even understand what vapid means. There's just not a lot there, and there's not a lot.
Is that a car part?
No, it's not a car part. But what she does have a lot of is boobs, and I appreciate that. And she's really flippin' hot. My runner-up would have been Tracer, and not because she's a lesbian, but because I dig accents. Ask last year and Lara Croft. Oh, never stop talking. Camilla Luddington can just never stop talking. That's how much I appreciate her and her accent. Yeah. So now that things got really awkward, let's pass it over to Trevor.
Alina, Uncharted 4. I mean, there's just something about her. I mean, what I like...
Girl Next Door.
Girl Next Door, she stands by no matter how many times Nathan lies to her, and he did that a few times.
Because he's a dick.
Outright dick. She still stands by him. And she's not overly voluptuous, but she's athletic and she looks gorgeous. And well, you know, when she's climbing the ladder, that looks all right.
Fits in a pair of jeans. Well.
She fits those jeans.
She
like
fills up those jeans.
Those jeans
So
that never stop.
What I like about Elena is that she is sort of like girl next door, but
Girl
it's
next
like
door.
that like that's the type of woman that you want to bring home to meet your mom, right? Like it's like wife material.
Well, that-
and I
she
think
can-
as we all get older as well, that's sexy, right?
That's
It's
video
like,
games.
and she can beat you at Crash Bandicoot.
Right.
well, not me, but Drake.
Did you beat her in the game?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I don't think I did.
I
Did
did
you?
not
I
either.
didn't. I didn't.
But there was a little bit of lag input, you know, from
Oh.
the my controller through the PlayStation into the digital PlayStation 1.
Oh, that's too good. So, moving into our next award of the show, of episode 3, we have the Olympian, which is the best sports or racing. I figure we'd try and mash a couple categories together, and we actually have a pretty good list here. Let's go through the nominees. Steep, Forza Horizon 3, MLB The Show. There's no competition when it comes to MLB. WWE 2K17, FIFA 17. No, I'm not meaning in terms of winner. I'm meaning in terms of baseball games. I saw the head shake.
No, I was shaking my head at WWE. I think that game sucks.
Yeah, I don't know why. I kind of agree with you. FIFA 17, Dirt Rally, Trackmania Turbo, NHL 17, and Mantis Burn Racing. And why don't we throw it over to you, Trev, to start?
Rory and I talked about this category quite a bit. I mean, it's tough to compare some of these games with one another. Like Forza Horizon's quite a bit different than MLB. Both games spectacular. I think if I'm to give one winner for the Olympian,
You have to.
It looks like I have to nail down and have one pick. I mean, as much as I want to pick MLB The Show because it truly is fantastic, I have a tough time with giving it to MLB because they come out every year. They're the only show in town, and really it is an outstanding. It's highly praised. It's a great game. I'm not knocking it in any way, but I really feel like Forza Horizon 3 is the cream of the crop in this category. It took racing games to the next level. It's terrific, and I just don't see these other games being on par with what Forza Horizon 3 was able to do this year.
Rory.
I think Forza's a great pick. I struggled with this one a little bit more than others did, I think, like because Steep kind of really surprised me, and I love extreme winter sports stuff, and we haven't had a really great one in a long time. Like I enjoyed the SSX remake, but it didn't live up to SSX 3 on the PS2, or even like I still prefer Amp 2 on Xbox and such. But Steep, I think, is actually a really good game. It's rough around the edges. There's things that should have been implemented, like grinding and things like that, that will hopefully come in the next game. But I think Steep deserved at least to be talked about and recognized that, hey, it's good. It kind of came out and went under the radar, and Ubisoft has a way of like surprising people with games, and that one came out, released, and then disappeared. Yeah. But it's a good game. You guys should definitely check it out. Trackmania Turbo as well was really good and kind of sliding under the radar of people. 4-player split screen, amazing track editor, super fast and fun. But, oh man, it's, you look at Forza Horizon, right? And it just, upon reflection, it's such a polished package. It's one of the most polished games. The only game I think that stands toe-to-toe on polished sort of level is something like Inside or maybe The Witness, that it was just so technically like outstanding on every level, presentation-wise, the racing, the multiplayer, and I will ultimately give it to Forza Horizon 3, and a shout out to MLB as well. It's fucking amazing. The best the game. That's the best the series has been so far. Horizon 3, I just think the breadth of the content there and everything is exceptional.
It's tough too because especially like FIFA 17, I really like what FIFA did this year with their single player mode. Their mode that's called The Journey, where you follow this fella working his way through like the different levels of soccer, and there's this whole thing going on with his dad, and I mean, yeah, kudos to what the FIFA franchise was able to do, because that, just like the show, the FIFA seems to nail it out of the park every year after year. It's a rock solid game. It's tough to not give those two games a vote, but yeah, I'm with you. Forza Horizon 3 just really takes the cake.
Well, I like Forza Horizon 3 as well, but I don't think it's the Olympian this year.
Ooh.
I also really liked FIFA. As Trev said, the Journey mode was awesome. It gave a reason to play career mode that was a little more than your average career mode.
Trying to figure this out.
But I don't think that's either. Right, I really think the best racing game of the year was Dirt Rally, and I'll tell you why.
Well, you're supposed to.
I'm supposed to. What it does really well is it really nails that feeling of being right on the edge between control and out of control. And it's completely white-knuckle the entire time. You start out with a really shitty car, but it doesn't matter because you're still right on that edge of control, but it's inspiring confidence at the same time. So you're completely tense the entire time you're playing this game, but you still feel like you're performing well, even if you're coming in the lower ranks of the races. And the physics and the customization of the cars and stuff, it's all what you'd expect from a rally game. And it's really just a joy to play.
I'm really glad to hear you say that, because Dirt Rally was one of those games I was super excited and interested in when I saw the launch, and then it kind of disappeared from like my mind for some reason. Yeah. So it's officially like I gotta play that, because the dirt games are always solid.
Yeah.
And Codemasters know how to make a good racer too. So
they do. I mean, for me, it was always Rally Sport Challenge for the OG Xbox is like one of my favorite rally games of all time. And I've always been a big fan of that style of racing, which I find that we don't get enough of. I mean,
do you remember WRC? I used to play a lot of that back on PlayStation back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or maybe the N64 was the one I had, but good stuff.
But rally racing, I mean, I think it's a North America thing too. It's just not as appreciated here as it is overseas. But rally racing is really fucking awesome. Yeah, it's super entertaining and it's a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, there's nothing like really nailing a super heavy drift, around a U-turn or something. You're kicking up gravel, you're kicking up snow or whatever. It's a ton of fun.
Speaking of which, really Horizon got that what was supposed to be phenomenal, that new snow DLC, right? Which adds a bit of a rally aspect to it. Yeah, it's supposed to be really good.
I'm sure we'll have a review on that, right? Of course we will.
I hope so.
Awesome.
Check out our review.
That's right. Can we put a box up there for that? Box there.
When it's ready.
So, I have a feeling, had I been able to play it this year, I still have not been able to get my hands on it, because apparently people who run websites don't actually get a lot of time to play games like they should. We let everybody else play games and do other crap. So I have not actually played, apart from the demo, Forza Horizon 3. What I did play out of the demo, I absolutely loved it. I know I'm going to pick it up, and as soon as I have time, I'm going to dive into it. But I haven't played it enough where I feel like I can vote for it, because I think that would be disingenuous. But I have played a ton of Steep. I suck at it completely. I'm not very good, and I accept that. But like you, I've always been a winter sports guy, and the extreme sports side of it is something that I appreciate. I mean, it's what I would do. I mean, if I'm going to go out and do something, I like to go up to the mountain and snowboard myself. I agree with you too that there's some of the little details that they should have thrown in. I don't even understand why there would not be grinding. That's such a basic thing it's a staple of what you're supposed to be able to do in that sport. So why it's not there, it confounds me a little bit. But being able to just cover over the mountain in any way, shape, or form, the wingsuit is amazingly fun, and it takes a very deft hand. I've restarted I don't know how many times on some planned lines, to the point of frustration and controller throwing. But I really think, like, for me, that's where I got the most enjoyment out of all these games, and where I've probably spent the most time. And I think that for me is probably more of a personal thing, because it's a sport or sports that I would tend to gravitate to on my own. I've never been much of a racer anyways. I always suck at those two. So so Steep wins my vote.
I'm very happy about this.
Oh, I'm glad.
Because it wasn't my pick, just because I think the polished, surface of Forza bumps it.
Yeah.
But I'm super happy that you picked it, because I think it deserves more attention. I think it's the best free riding snowboarding and skiing we've had yet in any game. Like, I spent so much time just riding.
I could do without the paragliding. I see its purpose. I see why they included it, and it's an easy way to get from one spot to another a lot of the time.
Totally.
But in terms of excitement and like, I'm excited to play the paraglide. No, you're not. No one is ever excited.
No,
to play
the events aren't good, but it clicked for me when it was that moment where it was just like, my objective is on top of like this house. Yeah. And I'm having a really hard time in this small area getting the speed I need to get onto that roof without fucking this jump up.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. If I just stand on the hill and open my paraglider, I can float over and land.
Float over.
Oh,
so
now I
get it.
it.
It's mobility,
man.
right? For sure.
Yeah.
But in the three like actual sports, the snowboarding, the skiing, and the wingsuit, they nail it, and they nail it really well. I mean, it's visceral. Like when you were flying down through, a hole, barely big enough for your arms spread through, and you nail that though in the wingsuit, like it feels good. Totally. It feels good. So that's what...
and instant restarts, right? It's one of those games where it's just like...
Which requires restart. A lot of them?
You know within 10 seconds of your run that you're not going to get your gold, and you're like, restart.
Like numerous upon numerous times.
Yay, Steve.
Yeah. I'm glad we could make Rory happy. And so we're leading into our final award of this episode, which is the Quest to Best, which would be our best RPG.
Which is what we're doing here. We're on our quest to the best.
We are on our quest to the best, because eventually we're going to get to the best game of the year,
right?
And that's going to be fun, because we actually have to come to a unified decision on that one.
Oh, it's going to be tough.
I'm just glad that you've got that big head of hair on there, because there's going to be hair pulling.
It's gotten thinner. I had to cut off like an 8-inch strip because it was basically turning into a dreadlock.
Oh, showers help.
I know. I got a baby now, man.
So our nominees for Quest to Best, for our best RPG of the year: Final Fantasy 15, obviously no surprise that that's in there. Dark Souls 3, Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, Pokemon Sun/Moon, Salt and Sanctuary, Hyper Light Drifter, and Darkest Dungeon. So there's actually a lot of indie love going on here, and I always like to speak up about how much I love seeing indies get a little bit of attention. Rory, why don't we throw it over to you for your favorite best RPG of the year?
Sure, and this was probably the easiest category for me. It was a clear winner, and that was Dark Souls 3. I thought that was just head and shoulders above the other stuff. It comes down to sort of just the gameplay for me, right? And I'm on the side of the fence. There's people that think that Dark Souls is too hard in a sense, unnecessarily too hard and such, and I counter that with the fact that I don't think it's hard at all. In fact, I think Dark Souls 3 is one of the easier of the franchises.
Sorry, I'm just gonna brush that dirt off your shoulder.
There's a different word I'm gonna use here. It's challenging. It's a very challenging game. I don't think it's unfairly hard though. It's a game that asks you to learn its mechanics, and and it's a game that locks you into attack animations on purpose, and you need to have real timing and know your defensive moves and patience, right? And yeah, some of the combat, can devolve into repetitiveness at times. It's like, well, I'll just circle strafe, get around, counter, whatever. But it's just the raw gameplay experience I found ridiculously strong. And I mean, that's another game where I put close to 100 hours into it, right? And just, I like to go guide-free, and the experience I got from that and the sense of reward I got from beating challenging bosses after 5 or 6 tries and such. As much as I love Final Fantasy 15, it's kind of like on autoplay a little bit, right? Like, I didn't mess around with the difficulty settings. I'm just playing on normal as I usually do with games my first run through. And you know, a lot of the big boss fights are just quick time events. The combat itself is like really sort of pulled back and simplified. You just hold buttons essentially and throw in some potions. And as much as I like that game, Dark Souls 3, man, it just, again, the sense of accomplishment and reward that I got from playing that, it was just puts it up there. Best RPG of the year for sure.
Trevor?
I'm with Rory on this one. I find it interesting that between the staff, so the staff had a chance to vote on all these games as well. And Final Fantasy and Dark Souls were split right down the middle. But I'm with Rory. I'm voting on Dark Souls as well. And I think for me, a lot of it is yes, it's punishingly hard. But this year, you know, Dark Souls 3 a little bit more accessible. It's yes, it's challenging. Yes, it's hard. But I found it a little bit. It's just a little bit easier to get through, and yeah, the exploration, the layers of depth, it wins my RPG of the year hands down.
Yeah, you know what? Just to add on to that, it kept surprising me too, right? Like there'd be moments where I'd be like, "Oh, a dragon, that's fucking cool looking," because I love the art style of the Dark Souls stuff. But then they would amp that up later, right? And just with the dragon, I was constantly like every 10 hours or so being like, "Whoa, okay," like.
And it's completely overwhelming. Like, you look at these enemies and you're like, oh my God, how am I going to get past this son of a bitch?
I was actually reduced to tears.
Oh my God. Yeah, right. Like, you're like,
I can't do this anymore. I can't do it anymore.
You did it guide free. I'd be lying if I didn't have to pull up a YouTube video here and there just to make it past some of these suckers. But yeah, it's just the enemies are just second to none. So
it was, yeah. When I finished it, I just was like, took a deep breath.
Right.
And just went, that's going to stick with me. And it has.
So for my choice, this is going to surprise people. I mean, it'll probably surprise you guys, actually, in a sense. When I reviewed Deus Ex: Mankind Divided,
you hated it.
I didn't hate it. I hated the fact that so many crappy and shitty glitches got through. No one else seemed to see them. I don't know. I had pictures. I had proof, or at least, you know, but I got shit on and I got ripped apart for my opinions on this game, to the point of, I mean, I think I was pretty close to getting doxxed on Reddit. Like, people were very angry at the score that I gave Deus Ex. I didn't mean that I stopped
choosing Deus Ex right now.
Hold up. That doesn't mean that I stopped playing Deus Ex. Now, I am unforgiving to some of the glitches that I came across in that game. Right? If I'm in an area where there's supposed to be security and they're supposed to be hunting me down, and I can casually stroll past them like I don't exist, you know, there's something fundamentally wrong there mechanically. That's something that should be patched or fixed. Well, guess what? There were patches, there were fixes. And when I jump back into it, I think my score was fair when I scored it based on the game that was released. And we, you know, like we said, releasing games when they're not necessarily ready, or making sure that everything is up to snuff. Once everything was up to snuff, that game fucking rules. It's really good. And the story, the setting. I mean, I've always liked that futuristic sort of setting, involving technology. Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
It, like, don't even get me started on that game. On Cyberpunk 2077, when that game comes out, I'm going to lose my shit.
You're forgetting Elias's voice.
Well, yeah, like sexy, right? Like sexy as hell, too. So, yeah. It seems almost like a flip-flop, but I'll still back my score for when that game came out, that there were things that were broken that shouldn't have been. But when things got fixed, that game is really, really good. It's super fun to play. The combat is fantastic. The progression of the character, you know, when you're adding on your augmentations, you feel the difference from one step to the next. Mm-hmm. Now, the key is being able to use your augmentations and not have them randomly disappear on you, right? But when you can use them, it's a great game. Super, super fun, and story-wise, everything else all falls into place for what I would like in a game. So, surprisingly, I'm going to give my best RPG to Deus Ex, the game that I gave a 65 to originally.
What would you give it now today?
Probably about an 80. Probably about an 80. And it sometimes that makes you almost think, like, I wish we could go back and reflect sometimes. But, you know, when a score is locked in and other sites and aggregate sites pick it up, you have to stand behind your work. And when that game was released, the glitches that I came across, unfortunately, had to impact my score. And I kind of wish they didn't have to, right? I mean, you don't like shitting on a lot of hard work that people did, right? You always want to recognize that there was, no one sets out to release, or very few people set out to release a game that sucks. Totally. So that hits them. That sucks, right? Yeah. It sucks to have to give that score. So Paul's choice.
So yeah, Darkest Dungeon was really cool. The narrator's awesome. The permadeath and some of the brutality and grotesque horrors that you come across in that game are pretty disturbing and entertaining at the same time. And Sultan Sanctuary is a lot like that as well. It's basically a 2D Dark Souls where you are in the dark and have to figure your way through this world, having no idea what any of the mechanics are or what they actually do. And that game's great if you're a fan of Dark Souls. I would definitely recommend that. My winner, though, is not Hyperlight Drifter. I love Hyperlight Drifter, but Final Fantasy 15 was the most fun I had in an RPG this year. I think the combat is really smooth. It's not challenging, but it is very fun to play. I like a lot of what they did with the characters. I mean, there are clearly some rough patches, and you can see where its roots are in the last gen, with a lot of the NPCs and whatnot.
But it has Cindy.
It does have Cindy, and it has a car, and it has some massive beasts and creatures, and there's a lot of fun to be had exploring that world, and I think it's the best RPG of the year.
And I think a lot of people would probably agree with you. So that wraps up, what is it, episode 3?
3.
Yeah, what do we got through? We went through the hotness, our Olympian, and our quest to best. Fantastic stuff, but we're going to move on to 3 more categories for our next episode, which you'll watch pretty much right away. The Thrill Seeker, which is our best action-adventure game. The Headshot, best first-person shooter. And one of my probably favorite categories are What the Fuck Award for most bizarre concept and or moments in 2016. And there's some interesting choices in here. This is going to be fun to talk about. All right, so tune in to episode 4 when we tackle those. Until then, take it easy.
Peace out.